everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing 6 different DIY home decor and ornaments that you can make this holiday season, and I'm starting off with these yarn Christmas trees. I've made many of these over the years and sold them at Christmas craft fairs, and typically I would get different size styrofoam cones and have different height trees. So you can really play around with this and use different materials. I've used twine, white fluffy yarn, green yarn, but this year I wanted to incorporate more red into my home decor, so I decided I wanted to make some more with red yarn. And in my experience, the best way to do these are to start at the very top. You want to put a little dab of glue on the top and then start pulling your yarn around nice and tight so that you don't see any of the white styrofoam. Now, you can have a more, I guess, messy look if you want, where you can just wrap and wrap and wrap the yarn overlapping previous yarn that you've already wrapped. They're still super cute, but if you want that really crisp, tight, lined up lines, then you're going to take your time and just wrap and keep it tight so that you don't see the white underneath. If you have a glue gun that has different settings, make sure to keep it on low. I've had it accidentally turned on high and it'll just melt right through the styrofoam. And because the glue dries fairly quick, you need to work in small sections. So you can see here, I'm just wrapping for a little bit, and then I'll take the glue and I just rub it on the styrofoam and then wrap again. Less is always more. I've certainly fell victim to using too much glue, and then it seeps through and dries white, and you're going to see it through your yarn. So you do not want that. You just want to put a little tiny bit. Trust me, the yarn will stick and won't move. These are super budget friendly, really easy, and you can customize them to suit your home decor in any way, shape, or form. So definitely go to your local craft store, get some supplies, and make these this holiday season. Okay, next up, this one's super easy. You can just grab either a frame that you already have, or I got this one from Walmart for $15, and then go to Etsy and just look up Christmas prints. There's so many to choose from, and they're very affordable, ranging from $1 to $3, maybe $5 max. Get them printed at your local craft store. A great tip is to put Mod Podge over the print. It'll give it a more realistic look. And I like to put the glass behind everything. It just makes it look more like a piece of artwork. And it's such a lovely way to add decor to your home. Okay, next up, this one's super easy as well, but definitely has a big impact, and that's dressing up some of the decor within your kitchen, like this cutting board. I just took some bells that I got from Canadian Tire, attached them to a little bit of twine, and hung them off this cutting board. And then I took some red velvet ribbon and tied a bow. This is a great way to make a bow. You just wrap it around your finger 3 times, and then between your index and thumb twice, loop it around the center, and you will have a perfect bow every time. I love the way this looks. It really elevates the space, and it's super easy and affordable. Okay, next up, this one's super easy and affordable as well. I got this frame for $5 at Walmart, and I picked up some material from my local craft store and got a print off Etsy. And I decided to wrap the mat with the material to give it a bit of a vintage Christmassy vibe. And what I love about this is you can completely tailor it to whatever your Christmas decor is. If you wanted a plaid, something green, blue, red, whatever your style is, you can absolutely tailor this to it. So what you're going to do is cut your choice of material a little bit bigger than the mat itself. And then what I did is I cut an X in the center and cut right to the corners, all 4 corners, so that you can pull the material tight and have it as clean and sharp looking as possible. So you can see here, I'm just cutting everything on an angle right to the corner. And then I took my glue gun, and with just a little bit of glue, always again with the glue gun, less is more, I just put a bit along the mat, and then I would fold the material over. And I just tried to keep everything tight with tension, but not too tight that it was pulling and stretching the material. So I just went around and did that on each side. And when I got to the top and bottom pieces, I folded in the corners, kind of like you would if you were wrapping a present, I guess, but just so that it had a nice clean finish. And this excess material there, I probably could have cut it a little bit shorter, but I just added a little more glue just to hold that down. And then it was time to do the insides. And for a few of these, I think I had to take my scissors and just cut a little more closer to get in the corner, but it's just something to play around with. And you can see here it's all coming together. Originally, I did have the glass laying in the main section, but I changed my mind and I pulled the glass out and I tucked it in behind everything. Again, I just find it gives it a bit more of like an artwork look versus this shiny glass. Maybe it's just my personal preference. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know some people argue that it makes the photo dirty, but to me, this is only being displayed for a few weeks of the year, so I'm okay with that. Okay, moving on to idea number 3 is these DIY mini wreaths. These ones here I got from my local craft store, and I'm taking the same bells that I used for the cutting board and I'm applying them to this wreath. So I'm just tying them around here, and I love the way that this looks because this is again another very easy DIY project. Anyone can do it, whether you feel that you're crafty or not. You can attach these bells, and then I went in with these brown velvet bows that I also got from Canadian Tire. And I just attached that to them, and I just love the rich brown with the brass bells and the wreaths. And I ended up hanging these on either side of my window in my living room. But I just adore these. I think they're so elegant and classy, and for the price, it can't be beat. And just to show you some inspiration of what this can look like in other ways, I got these mini wreaths from Canadian Tire. And then these bells I got from my local superstore, which were super cute and affordable as well. And then I took this red velvet ribbon and tied a bow the same way I did with the cutting board. So again, you wrap it around your finger 3 times and then twice between your index and your thumb. Then you loop it around the center and tie a knot there, and you are going to have a perfect bow every single time. It'll have 2 sides to it, I guess, if that's what you call them, the 2 ends of the bow. But it's a great way to make a bow. Once you try it a few times, you'll catch on very, very quickly. And I just think it makes the wreath look extra cute. I love these material ornaments. They came out so cute, and again, something that you can totally customize to your style. I wanted to create a bit of a vintage ornament style with these. So I'm going in with that same fabric that I used for the picture frame, but I also have some other ones too. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut small strips of the material. You're going to need Mod Podge and some ornaments. And you don't need to use brand new ornaments. You could use old ones that you want to recycle and craft with. But essentially, you're going to cut a bunch of strips of the material and you're going to paint them onto the ornaments. And I'm going to say it again, I don't feel you need to be super crafty to create these. I find I hear that all the time from people like, oh, that thing that you made is so beautiful, I'm not crafty. But I truly believe you don't need to be quote unquote crafty to make some home decor that's fun for the holiday season and an affordable way to create decor that suits your aesthetic and your vibe without breaking the bank. So, this is definitely one of those things. You're just going to paint the Mod Podge on. You're going to grab the strips. You're going to stick them to it. And then you're going to paint the Mod Podge over the material as well. You do want to have a little bit of excess that comes up around the top. And once everything dries, you'll just end up cutting that off. I'll show you here in a little bit. it's starting to take shape, and the material is going to have little bubbles and bends, but you're just going to keep going over it with the Mod Podge, and it'll just essentially take those little air bubbles out and fold the material. And it's a part of the look. It gives it that textured kind of material aesthetic to it, and I think it gives it a little charm. So here it is when it's all said and done and dried. And then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut the excess around the top off. But essentially you're going to want to have the glue come as tight up to the neck of the bulb as possible so that when you put the top piece on, it hides away as neatly as possible. I will say not all of mine had that, but again, I think it goes with a bit of the vintage charm. Now, you could just use the silver toppers if that's a part of your aesthetic. For me, I want these to be gold, so I cut off all the strings. I took some dark brown acrylic paint and I just painted over them. I probably didn't need to do this, but I was going to go over it with Rub and Buff, and I was thinking I should have a dark brown base, but once I went over it with the Rub and Buff, I figured probably didn't need to do that step. But this is my first time using Rub and Buff and I love it. It's hard to get your hands on it here in Canada, but I did find a supplier that was able to send it to me from Ontario. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm excited. I have a few other ornament ideas that I want to create with them, so stay tuned for that. And I just grabbed some ribbon from my local craft store. I have this beautiful dark green and burgundy, and I thought for these ones, the dark green looked best. So again, I just think this gives things a little more of a higher end look than using the silver string that originally came on these. But I purchased this material from my local craft store. I think it was about $2.50. These bulbs were $1.70, and this ribbon was $1.47 for a roll. So again, overall, super affordable, fun, and easy DIY project, and I love the way these look. Okay, last but not least are these adorable DIY embroidery hoop ornaments. So, making good use of the material I bought, I'm using these with these little mini embroidery hoops. I think these are about 3 inches wide, and you can customize these to any way, shape, or form that you like. You're just going to add the material, keep it nice and tight, and then you can grab whatever stems, branches, little bells, bows, pine cones, whatever you want, and just glue them on. You could have your arrangement at the bottom of the hoop. I decided to put them at the top for this one and just make things look a little purposely not balanced on either side. I added some little gold balls and a pine cone, and I just used some wire cutters and just cut little bits of these. And I've used these for so many different things, and I just keep all my scraps because you never know when you can use them, and they just make such cute little ornaments. And I used some green velvet ribbon to put a little bow on the top, and the silver screw at the top. I just find the bow hides that really nicely, and then you can loop a piece of ribbon through that so that you're able to hang the ornament on the tree. Now, apparently I didn't record after this clip, so this is it when it was all finished, but I did make a few others with different materials and stem attachments, so I'll show those here and how I finished everything off. So once I had everything attached, I flipped it over and cut the excess material off, just leaving a little bit. And then I put glue on the inside of the hoop and just folded all of the material down. I just felt like it gave it a nice clean finished look, and added the ribbon to the top. And here's another one just to show you some inspiration on how different ways that you can customize this. And yeah, there's just so many ways I think that you can make these cute little ornaments, and they're super affordable. I hope you guys liked today's video and you're leaving with some inspiration for different home decor and ornaments that you can make this holiday season. I'll be back next week with another video, and I've got more crafts and ideas to share. So hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.